Josh, so excited to have you here. I was just looking at the numbers. 20 million cans approximately in the last 12 months. Yeah. You've been going for 8 years. People want to know, how have you done this? How have you built this business? Tell us the story.
It really hasn't been easy, Simon. You know, and the amount of times that I've wanted to turn away and basically give up is, you know, especially in the first 4 years, I'd leave the office in tears at times because the amount of, you know, the amount of days where I thought maybe we're just flogging a dead horse. Are we the only people in the world that actually see that this is something that has potential? How have we done it? Just to be completely honest with you, like a lot of hard work and a lot of going against the grain. Like our brand proposition as a brand, we've got it written on our wall, is defying the norm to encourage change. And I think that, you know, we've spoken before about my ADHD. That is a key factor, I think, to the resilience that I've got. And, you know, as a kid being told you can't do this, and throwing my toys out the pram and being told, well, you know, you're not clever enough to do this. I'm not a very academic person. I'm more of a creative. I think pushed me and the others to really basically turn around and say, we ain't taking no as an answer, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that this brand has a chance. So I think that, you know, in 8 years, it hasn't been easy, but in 2018, we were going bankrupt and we'd only sold a few 100,000 cans, and we brought in a managing director who basically turned around and said, guys, you've got something cool. You've got a few shelves, Selfridges, Whole Foods, a few celebrities holding the product, but actually you're running out of money and you're about 3 months away from going bankrupt. We need to do something. And we basically planted every seed imaginable, burnout to the absolute max. And on the last month, David Attenborough came through with Blue Planet, BBC Blue Planet. And overnight, we went from being the biggest fad, selling a few 100,000 cans in, you know, from 2016 to 2018 to 12 million in 2019, which was, I guess, the first time ever that I had sort of been like, oh my God, there is potential. But what had happened is that every single person who doubted us actually remembered that 3 idiots had called them up in the past 2 years and said aluminium was better. They'd seen this Blue Planet episode. Sustainability became, you know, at the top of everyone's agenda. And actually, people started to see what we saw, that aluminium is, you know, a much better alternative.
In that download there, you have shared so many pearls of wisdom I don't want people to miss. First of all, the importance of persistence. That's for sure. If you don't keep pushing through, if you stop, you fail.
Agree.
But I mean, we can talk a bit later about maybe how sometimes stopping is also healthy, but like generally, like just keep pushing through the pain.
Yeah.
The other thing there, I think a lot of entrepreneurs listening will think they've got to do it on their own, and bringing in someone else to help.
Yeah.
You know, validating your idea or questioning your idea or bringing in experience, especially young entrepreneurs. I started a business at 15 years old. I actually asked for help from someone, and they wouldn't do it unless I paid them. I didn't have the money to pay them, which is why I do what I do today. But I think that whole concept of like, you know, you have to push through and learn it all on your own is an incorrect image that a lot of entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs give that.
Great.
You getting help and accepting that person knew more than you, giving you some advice that kind of woke you up.
Yeah.
I think is really amazing. And then how amazing is David Attenborough? You know, like my son who's 6, we just watched, it wasn't Blue Planet, his new one. And he talks about the 6th extinction and how we're all going to get wiped out. And my son now, who's 6 years old, I don't ask him what he's going to be when he grows up. I don't ask him what he's going to be. I ask him what problem he wants to solve. And he wants to solve making sure we don't have the 6th extinction happen to us. And I just think, you know, people like that, I mean, he's nearly 100 and he's still out there making things to educate people on the planet.
Yeah, he's a hero.
He is a hero. And the influence he has is sometimes 100%. Not even felt, you know, when you talk about your story there, like that whole change it can make in your business just by educating people. Let's talk for a second about a sensitive subject, I guess, you know, purpose. I think businesses that have purpose, and I can talk from my own experience, I'd love to know your experience, people are skeptical. Like somehow I help people for free. So I'm only in it to get my own social media following is the sort of comments I get. Yeah. I'm not really helping people for free. I'm making money on my social media. I mean, I personally give away the profits I make on my social media to fund people's dreams. So, but anyway, what on your side, I'm sure there's a lot of skepticism. how does that affect you? Say 8 years ago and now, have you built up some coping mechanisms? And how do you feel about purposeful businesses?
Listen, my whole life is purpose, and two things that. So I've been asked a few late nights with a few friends, like, what is the meaning of life? What do you believe is the purpose of life? And I believe the purpose is giving back. That's my purpose, giving back, doing everything in your power to basically pass on your knowledge, your sort of, by suggesting to people a route of how to do something. So in my life, CanO Water being one of them, ADHD and Addiction is another realm which, you and I have spoken about, where I, on a daily basis, help struggling addicts who are finding it incredibly difficult to come out of the realm of addiction. It's a horrible place. And the same with ADHD. It's like, how do you see the superpowers of something when in your head you've just got this horrible brain fog that you can only see? That I've always looked at it. CanO Water is actually a perfect example. If, as an addict or as someone with ADHD, if I said to you, you'll never be able to drink again, thinking of A to Z, it's impossible. So that brain fog is, oh my God, I can't imagine never. But if you just deal with today, and you go one day at a time, I really, really believe that there is a superpower in that, and you just focus a lot more in that. That's where brain fog, I think, really, really starts to sort of clear, and you can just see, just for today. And it's been the same with CanO Water, with purpose. Like, in 8 years, I've seen people. We used to do stand outside of train stations handing out cans to people, and people used to be like, "What the hell is this? Why would anyone want to drink water out of a can? It's just so stupid." And people looked at us like we were mad. Even my own family thought I was crazy. Now people pick it up. They understand purpose and why it exists. And I think there's something special in that, of like, it takes time to create purpose, and the world goes round. I explain it as like the difference between a BlackBerry and an iPhone, or MySpace and Facebook. Airbnb. Like that's a foreign idea. Like, why on earth would I want someone sleeping in my house? But, someone's actually gone through that pain and been the punching bag to make that happen. Just like you do. Like, why are you helping me? Why do you want to know my dream? Well, I want to know your dream because, and I know it's different, but I want to help you. Oh, why do you want to help me? No one's ever wanted to help me. What's the catch? It's a
scam.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, it's all about making change and doing things different. And you have to be the wild one to make change, don't you? Like, someone's got to do it. And BlackBerry versus iPhone, I always say everyone had a BlackBerry. And then one random weirdo at school got an iPhone, and you were like, oh my God, why are you defining the norm?
Whole thing as well about, like, oh, we want a keyboard. Why would you not want a keyboard?
Exactly.
BlackBerry thought their whole value proposition was the keyboard. Yeah. Actually, the iPhone BlackBerry example, I mean, I actually think iPhone's an interesting case study in its own, or Apple's an interesting case study in its own, because actually, ironically, I think that business lacks purpose.
Yeah.
Which might be its downfall.
Yeah.
But I actually pitched to Apple once when I owned an agency. Yeah. People are spending $1,500 on a phone. What about, as they turn the phone on, they have to donate $5 to a charity on an app before they can use the phone. Purpose. If they spend that much money on a phone, they can afford $5 donated to a charity. Like, why not use that platform to actually power up some charities?
Well, we've got this is a more expensive product than a plastic bottle, but one of our sayings when we speak to people, when they say, oh, it's more expensive, is, it might cost more, but it doesn't cost the earth. And the truth is that if you do bring purpose into it, you will start to see, a big change. You are completely right. If every single person in the world paid £1 to something, we saw how quick the world moved to get a vaccine in COVID.
Yeah. The money's there. The money's all made up anyway. It's all a fugazi, right? It's actually a made up. Money is the first virtual reality we believe to be true. Money is worth nothing. It's only worth what we believe it's worth when we exchange it. So I think that if the whole purpose thing, I find mind blowing. So your business has a purpose, but it's for profit. I actually think this is the future of business.
Yeah.
So I think charities are kind of almost championed as, and on my platform, for example, when I first look at doing it, like, I'll make it a charity because it'll make me look good. You know, like, I've got a charity. I'm not trying to make money, it's a charity. But then the charity model is seriously flawed because
I agree.
It requires often donations, which can come and go.
Yeah.
And it requires a non-commercial structure. Often it's just, please donate to this charity, which means you can't really have a clear streamline of income. And then you can't really invest money without a lot of bureaucracy. You can't pay people properly. You can't hire the best in class because they'll be too expensive. And you certainly can't buy a staircase in Twickenham like I did.
100%. And what I've seen actually is funny. In the early days of CanO Water, obviously the enemy to us is big plastic. So the big brands like the Coca-Colas, the Pepsis, and what we started to see, funny enough, is when we'd go and speak to charities and we'd say, we're here to do everything towards what you've been talking about and no one's been listening to you. We're here to be a vehicle. And we would find out that Coca-Cola are actually one of the biggest people behind the businesses. So exactly what you're saying is the problem, is that it is so flawed that in the end, they actually the enemy ends up paying their way.
It's like the story of the vape company, right?
Exactly.
That basically started out, tobacco was their enemy. And it ends up, the tobacco ends up owning them, right? And everybody in that company made millions. And I think that's also the very interesting thing about the purpose cycle, right? Because the argument of what you're doing, for example, is, well, you're still creating water in a can that's causing, petrol to be used and transport to be used. So people would, it's like Tesla, which I love. I've got a Tesla. I love it. And, people are like, oh, well, you're not really contributing to saving the planet. I'm like, well, I finally managed to get solar panels installed at my house. So now my solar panels are charging my car. So I fucking am. But like you said, it's a process.
It is.
The solar panels weren't available when I bought the Tesla.
100%.
Now they are with the batteries.
And if you just expect the whole world, as I said to before, if you just expect it's like that one day at a time thing, if you just expect everyone to just get to Z, we live in a world where convenience rules our lives, okay? When we started this business, we're not environmentalists. We're not standing outside of Coca-Cola's head office for 30, 40 years screaming, fuck plastic. We are now. But, the funny thing is that when I first started this business, I remember I was at Whole Foods and I was sampling and a woman, she was around 55, 60 years old, came over to me and she said, can I have your autograph? And I was like, this is a bit strange. Why do you want my autograph? And she said, I've been speaking about plastic pollution for the past 30 years. No one has listened to me. No one. People are listening to you. And I think that, that's the reality of life, is that, I wish, and we as founders wish, that tomorrow every single person would just drink from the tap. So yes and no. It's a bit of a catch-22 because tap water actually has shitloads of microplastics in and fluoride. It's not the greatest ever, but if you've got very, very good quality tap water, 100%. That is the most sustainable. Put a filter on it. The problem is that plastic consumption's going through the roof. Right. And even in the world where everyone's walking around with their reusable bottle, they're still grabbing plastic bottles, and that's the reality.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like with a purpose. And there's so many things here. I don't want people to miss the insights here that you're sharing, because you're saying it very quickly, and I think people might not grasp it. And like purpose. If again, I always use myself as a reference, but when I launched HelpBnk a year ago, I told everybody about it a year before I launched it, and everyone said, well, someone's going to copy you, LinkedIn's going to do it.
I always say this.
And I'm like, good. If they do it before I do 100%. It, I'll be so happy. And I think what you're symbolizing there is that whole you care about this so much. If the tap water was cleaned up and everyone drank tap water, then great, shut up shop and do something else.
100%.
Right? But plastics is still going to be a problem, even if people do that. And I think what your brand kind of represents, I guess, is that concept of reminding people, try 100%. To reduce your plastic use.
I get it every single day. Like, oh, Coca-Cola is going to copy you. They are. In America, they're putting their water into cans. Great. Look at brands like Liquid Death. All of these businesses, Evian launching a sparkling. This is the reason we started the company. Our vision has always been to remove 1 billion plastic bottles within 10 years by selling infinitely recycling cans, and to inspire others to follow suit. So we want them to do that. We want to force their hand, because the truth is, behind closed doors, they are not a purpose before profit business. We are, you know.
Well, they're not born that way.
No.
They try to pretend to be that way.
It's all a facade.
Yes, and they spend a lot of marketing money pretending that they care. Like Coca-Cola is a great example of like sponsoring sports. McDonald's sponsoring the Olympics. It's literally, I don't know how these companies are even allowed to actually sponsor these things, because they're almost anti-sports in my mind.
And I think the future of the world should be, and you know when Ronaldo, he removed
brilliant. They lost $1 billion of their valuation, 100%. Which unfortunately came back.
Yeah, I know.
But that was an amazing moment, wasn't it?
We need more of that. Yeah. We need more of that. That's why David Attenborough is such a legend, because and I've actually met David Attenborough before a few times, and he's had quite a few canos in, like, whether it be the House of Parliament or whatever.
Tell me you got a picture.
I've got a picture somewhere. I do. But he does not give a fuck. That's what I love. He doesn't care about what people think about. All he cares about is his mission, his purpose, which is protecting the planet. And that's the
dedication to get to that level. I mean, again, people listening, I want them to learn a few things from this podcast. And one of the things that I just want to go a little bit deeper on for a second is like the business model. Okay, so I'll just be a skeptical listener for a minute, and I'll say, yeah, you want to save the planet and you want to reduce plastic. I believe you, but it's all about making money in the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about that for a second. I mean, I have an opinion, but I'd love to, like, what do you say to the cynical listener that's thinking it?
I'll tell you, if we wanted to make loads of money, we probably wouldn't have launched in a can, first of all, okay? Cans are a lot more expensive than plastic. So there's an intrinsic value to a can, which is why it's more recyclable, because you've probably seen in American movies, homeless people walk around with cans. That's because there's a value, so they can make money from it. Now, going up against the plastic, big giants of plastic, one of the main things straight away is that you can't compete price-wise against plastic. It's impossible. Plastic is a false economy. It is so cheap, okay? So straight away, anyone that comes from a business background would tell you, don't go. We were so naive as kids, okay, when I started this at 22 years old, that most people would have been like, don't go into it, because there's not a lot of wiggle room to compete against the plastic. Putting my purpose hat on, it's, well, no, fuck that. We're going to do it because we're going to force them to go into it. Once they're into it, then we'll have a bit of a chance. Look at smoking. I used to be an avid smoker 10 years ago. I don't smoke anymore. Cigarettes used to be a $5, okay, for a pack of 20. They're now like £15. I believe, and we believe, that the same will happen with plastic. The plastic problem is only getting worse. We're going to have to put things in place to stop people, whether it be a deposit return scheme or, taxes on plastic. So we've taken, as I said, we were the guinea pigs, the punch bag, as well as that as well. Like, we're a sustainability first company where we can be. So the cheapest form of packaging is plastic wrap. We have moved away from plastic wrap, and we're now in full outer cardboard sleeves. That's more expensive. It's any business would be like, oh, you're squeezing. But this business, listen, the business has to survive at the end of the day. And I think that's something that I've learned, is that everyone around you, like, I'll give you an example. Evian have launched into sparkling cans. Why haven't they launched into still cans? Why haven't they got rid of all their plastic? Why haven't all the brands that are out there got rid of all their plastic? It's easy. Just go into cans. Because they can't. Because their whole model, their infrastructure is based around this false economy of plastic, where they're making millions. A lot of businesses, they might take CanO Water, but they'll still sell plastic bottles. Why? Because they make so much money from plastic bottles. They will buy a plastic bottle for nothing, and they'll sell it for like £3. So we are not a money maker for a lot of businesses, in all honesty. We are a tick box exercise, and we are forcing the world to go into something and being the punch bag where, hopefully we do get through the pain. That's the truth. This is life or death. This isn't like, oh yeah, we're making loads of money. We've sold all those cans. We're not, all the money just goes back into building the brand. We've since starting the business, I haven't actually taken, apart from my salary, which for 4 years was completely nothing. I haven't taken anything out of the business.
Yeah, every time I mention you, they say you must be very rich by now.
Yeah, they are so
the
wrong.
misunderstanding about it. By the way, that's another important lesson I really believe in, which is, if you have a purpose and you really believe in it, good idea. Let's have some water. You keep reinvesting in the business, because why would you stop the purpose? And I think that's something people to understand. There's a couple of things I would like to get into which are sensitive. Addiction. Mm-hmm. Ironically, I know you've talked openly about your own addiction in the past. I'd like to understand how you got off drugs.
Of course.
And I'd like to understand a little bit about how you think we can help people that are on drugs. I've had my own brush with people with drugs. I've never done drugs myself, but I was homeless and I've tried to help homeless people who are on drugs. I'd love to talk about that. And then finally, I think there's some irony because I think we're actually addicted to plastic, aren't we?
Yeah.
And so even from an ingestion point of view, I'd argue that it's probably part of our diet and we don't even realise it.
100%.
So how, truly how do we break that addiction? Is it just don't buy Evian anymore that's in plastic? Don't buy any plastic water. And is it that simple? I mean, is there more to it? So why don't we start first, the addiction piece. Tell us about your addiction and how you got off drugs, and maybe teach us a little bit about that.
Definitely. So I come from a family of addicts, and funny enough, when I started drinking, because drinking was my main thing, I didn't really know too much about my family history. When it got worse, my family opened up to me and spoke to me about my cousin, who unfortunately passed away from a heroin addiction, and how there's a lot of addiction in my family. But before I actually got hooked, I didn't actually know this. It was just a very, very organic thing. And I think that ADHD and addiction are literally sit side by side. So dopamine hits, okay? That could be music, could be business. It could be, I believe that anyone with ADHD needs to find a fucking hobby ASAP. And I'll go into why. For me, it could be going to the gym. It could be the ice bath. It could be doing this podcast. 4 years ago, I never would have gotten a podcast. I would have been completely shit scared. I had an incident when I was a kid where I fainted on stage at a talent contest. And I believe that going out of my comfort zone has helped me and propelled me to be able to sit here today. But these are dopamine hits. So this right now for me is a bit of a dopamine hit. Now, if you don't find that dopamine hit, you'll find it in other areas, i.e. drink and drugs. And I, at a very young age, suffered severely with this sense of non-belief in myself, really, where everyone around me was quite intelligent. Everyone around me, was clever and they had something about them. I got diagnosed with ADHD at 11 years old. Unfortunately, my mum, my grandma, got diagnosed with cancer. I had a real, I was the class clown at school, and I never felt like, I always wanted to be everyone's best friend, but I felt so lonely behind that. So at school, I'd be the class clown, and I'd be at home by myself, and I'd just be the most lonely person ever. It'd be like this mask, and when I took the mask off, I didn't want anyone to see the mask off. I took the mask off at home and I was just a lonely person. And it just took me to a really dark place, very suicidal at a very young age, didn't really see a future. Talking about that, just taking one day at a time, I could never do that. It was just like, yeah, but what about the future? One of my fears was that I was going to be be homeless and be someone, because I didn't see any purpose. I mean, my whole life, by the way, always goes back to purpose. I didn't see any sense of purpose. I didn't know what my purpose on this planet was. And essentially, I turned to drink, and I didn't go to any hardcore drugs. I was this is at the age of 12 years old, where a lot of people aren't doing hardcore drugs, but
you were an alcoholic at 12 years old?
At 12 years old.
That's crazy.
So every day.
I mean, how can you even buy it?
It was progressive. Things that I'm not proud of, whether it be this fake ID or taking money from family members just to fund my addiction. And, all the things that anyone that is an addict knows, that these are the things that, that you'll do as an addict, anything. And the truth is, for 3 years, from the age of 12 to 15, I basically would do anything to be drunk, basically. And I speak about it today. It's quite ironic. I'll take Evian bottles, the irony of CanO Water. I used to take Evian bottles into school and fill them up with vodka, 3 bottles of 500 ml a day, and I would just drink that every day. I just hated my life, and I speak to so many young kids now that feel the same, especially after COVID, etc. where they haven't had any real life connections. And at 15 years old, I went from being this kid that everyone wanted to be my friend, everyone loved me, to 15 years old, you didn't want to be around me, in trouble with the law, waking up on, like literally on high streets and on near like train tracks, literally, that's how bad it got. And I got rushed into rehab at 15 years old. And I had a blackout, and I woke up in a rehab at 15, and everything changed in my life. It was like walking through like the White Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, like into like Narnia. It was like this other world of addiction, where I learned all about why I do things and how it's actually got nothing to do with the drink or drugs. It's actually all it's got to do with is my mind, and I need to try and find other ways to fuel this addiction, which I do now within business and helping people, which is a massive thing, back to purpose. And for the next 4 years after that, I really sort of was toying back and forth of whether, like, am I an addict? And at 19 years old, I had another, I relapsed on laughing gas, weirdly enough, which I'm very, very glad that laughing gas has now been banned. But unfortunately, my younger brother got diagnosed with cancer at 12, which was a very, very painful thing for me and my family. And, after that, my life spiraled. And at 19 years old, I basically said to myself that I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing good and helping people and trying to find a way to love myself. So basically, I spent, 22 was when I started CanO, but essentially my life started at 19 years old, where I knew what my purpose was, which was to love myself and to help others find that inner love, and that, a world where you don't need to use drink or drugs or feel suicidal, a world where you can find a sense of belief in yourself. So that was sort of like my addiction story, where I think I sort of wish that, do you know what? I've lost a lot of people, Simon, to addiction. A lot of people who have died along the way. And one of the things in my first rehab where a lot of older people said to me was, you are so lucky that you've got this now, because you'll end up like us, and they're not here anymore. And I think that, I also feel like I have a sense of belief to sort of pass their message on, because they aren't here to talk about their wrongs.
Wow. It's mind blowing. I have quite a few things I'd like to ask you about this. One is, when I listen to what you talk about, first of all, we have something in common. I also had a traumatic experience at 15. My father died of a heart attack in front of me, and I didn't know how to save him because no one had taught me CPR. No one even taught me what a heart attack was.
Yeah,
I'd been at school 12 years at that point. I knew nothing. The school system had completely let me down. I also then had an argument with my mum 3 weeks later because no one had taught me how to debate properly. And I argued with my mum and never went back, left home and never went back, and became homeless. And I almost became addicted, not to drugs or glue, which a lot of people were sniffing when I was out there on the streets. I always became addicted to the social system, because social services basically said, oh, you're 15, we'll give you a house and we'll give you food, but you cannot do any work. Yeah. You cannot. And by that time, I'd always started dreaming of like maybe starting a business. And I said no to the social addiction, a social system addiction, which said you can't do anything with your life but sit at home playing Xbox, which sounds like a dream at 15 years old, but it of course isn't the dream. I think there's addiction around every corner. And one thing I kind of want to ask you when you describe all of that, like, I think, what is the translatable knowledge to give to the people listening? One, if they're an addict or they know someone's an addict. And this is the weird conclusion I came listening to. So tell me if I've got this right.
On.
You need to replace it with another addiction that's not as bad for you.
Sort of, yeah.
And so that's why I love entrepreneurship. I think the best school you can ever go to is starting a business.
Yeah, I agree.
And it gives you a focus, especially if the business has purpose.
Yeah, even if it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Like, I was actually thinking about this the other day. Like, even if it doesn't work, you then can make that decision. But like, if you don't even try it, you are a slave to the system, really. And I think that, that's where I massively agree. Like, it isn't for everyone, and it is fucking hard, like really, really hard. But if you don't
that's
try,
the fun of it.
Like, and going out of your comfort zone, I genuinely believe in all aspects of life. is like, it's growth at its finest.
Yeah.
There's been so many times where I have been so scared to do something, and I've like haven't slept for 3 days, and I've literally just done it. And it is easier said than done, but you have to go through so much pain.
It's so cliche though, isn't it? That joy is on the other end of pain.
I know.
I'm doing a TED talk in April.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm scared as hell.
Don't be.
I'm going to fucking do it though.
100%.
Nothing's going to stop me doing these things. It's easier to say no.
Yeah.
When they asked me to do it, I was like, oh, I don't think I know enough to do a TED talk.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but my brain said yes, and I'm scared. I think there's another great lesson there for people listening. Like, you know, you've gone through this experience to give you this knowledge that, you know, that we're all addicts. Every human has an addictive
100%.
Personality. Everybody.
Yeah.
You survived this far as a species because we learned to eat something that was in our forest and get used to eating it
100%.
and want it because we knew it was safe to eat. That's how we survived. So, like, I'm addicted to sugar at the moment. Like, I've realised I'm addicted to sugar.
Tell me about it.
Like, I've got to have a hot chocolate at night time for some weird reason. And, you know, like, it's better than alcohol, probably. It's better than hardcore drugs, definitely. But when it gets to a certain point where the addiction controls you,
100%.
I think controlling the addiction, like having one drink. You know, like, I don't drink any alcohol, but having one drink, if you can do that and you can control it, you're in control of the addiction.
100%.
I think it's healthy.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree.
I just think work-wise, however, I have discovered that, and I don't know if I'm ADHD personally, but I think that for me, it's about lifetime learning.
Yeah.
And when you build something where you're permanently scared and you're permanently feeling that feeling of, oh my God, I'm shitting myself, it means you're growing.
100%. If I look at the person that started CanO Water to the person I am today, or the person at 15 who was in the rehab crying his eyes out to the person, I'm a different person. You know, I genuinely believe that my trauma has made me someone that, you know, that when I meet a lot of people, growing up, I was so angry at the world that was me. Why me? Everyone, no one else is going through this. No one else is going through this. As in, like, you know, that saying of like, stop looking up, look down. I genuinely believe if you look up, you're just going to see like multi-billionaires on yachts, and they might be the unhappiest people ever. But social media can be. I know quite a few of them. So, exactly, social media can be very dangerous for that. But if you look down, you see how much you've actually achieved, and how, you know, one thing that I try and do is like write a gratitude list every morning, or a fears list of all the things I'm fearful of. But once you start to see how grateful you are for things, you start to realize that actually, you know, we do live in a society where we beat ourselves up and we compare ourselves to so many people, and actually everyone's on their own journey, everyone's on their own path.
I couldn't agree more. I like the whole, I think a lot of people do look up. I mean, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, right? And I look up and I think, wow, you know, I've got a purpose to help people for free. He's got a purpose to make sure the human race doesn't become extinct and get us on a second planet, and make sure we use reusable fuels. You know, I you know, you're kind of wow. But I the looking down thing's really interesting. I think people listening to that terminology might be like, well, if you say it in the wrong context, I'm looking down on people. I think helping down is really fascinating.
I agree with that.
Because helping up, like if Elon Musk called me up today and said, Simon, will you help me? I was like, yes, mate, I'm there. If someone with no money, homeless person, says, Simon, can you help me? I walk by them, right? I walk by them and like, you're probably a drug addict. Or I read in a media story 10 years ago that someone lets a homeless person in their house and they murdered everyone in their house. So if I help you, maybe you'll murder everyone in my house, so I can't help you. You know, like media's got a lot to blame for the way people think. 100%. The cynical way, in particular in England, which we'll cover in a minute. The cynical way people think. I think the media here has a lot to play. They run a headline like "homeless person kills family," you know, and then everyone reads that as the norm. And now no one will help a homeless person. And there's 250,000 homeless people in this country. Now, when I describe myself as homeless, I actually sometimes feel a bit of a fraud because I was not institutionally homeless. There's people that are 6, 7, 8 years on the street. Of course, and there's no way for them to get back into the system. I was homeless for about 6 weeks. It was enough of an experience to know I never want to do it again. I saw addiction. I saw someone die in the street. I saw someone piss on someone in the street. I've seen it all, right? Awful human behaviour, both from the homeless folks that I had to sleep next to, alongside the public that would literally treat these people like shit. And I think what's fascinating is the whole concept of like, everybody listening to this podcast is 3 days away from being homeless. If something happens to your family, and I recently speaking to a homeless person, their son died. I was 9 years old. I've got a 6-year-old. If my son died, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah.
You know, I probably turn to drink. I've never drunk in my life, but anything to dull that pain.
Yeah.
I can already feel it. Just talking about it, I can feel it. You know, like people, you know, your electricity bill doubles, you get laid off, and you can't pay your electricity bill. You're sitting in a freezing cold house. Your kids are sitting in a freezing cold house. I'd turn to alcohol to escape that pain of having to deal with that problem where I'm not providing for my children. Yeah. Right. And then you start taking a drug, and next thing you know, you're on 100%. The street. And people don't understand this when they don't empathize. And I think that's what I get from you as well. Like you said, luckily you had this happen to you young. Yeah. So you've learned the lessons of addiction. You've taken control. You've understand how important purpose is. And now not only do you build a for-profit business that does good, which is unbelievable, you're personally purpose-driven, which gives you that focus.
100%.
And I wonder how to give that to people listening that haven't gone through that pain. And I always say to people, start off by give without take, not give and take. Yeah. You know, we get taught this thing, give and take. If I say to you, look, mate, I help you out. You come on my podcast, and I'll promote CanO Water, and you take the time out to come in and share some knowledge and promote the podcast. We'll help each other, give 100%. And take. People are totally norm to it. But what about just give without take? What about I'm just having you on the podcast because I think you're amazing, and I think you're going to share knowledge with the audience. There's no trade. We've got so used to everything being a transaction, we've forgotten it's like. Actually, what we should do is walk 100%. Past a homeless person and just listen to them for half an hour. Don't have any judgment.
100%. I rarely ever say no, like to people that ask for help. I put up I think it was my 13 years clean. I put something on LinkedIn just to say like, you know, it was just sort of like celebrating it. And I got over 750 messages, and I replied to every single one of them within like 2 or 3 days. And it was just one of the most fulfilling experiences, but mainly just because like I didn't want anything from anyone. People wanted a lot from me, but I didn't want anything from anyone. I actually believe that, and this is why HelpBank's so great. I believe that when you help someone, you help yourself and you help your soul. And I've always been that guy. I'll give you an example. In COVID, I was in a really bad way. I'm a DJ, you know, I wasn't DJing. CanO Water was in a dire way. You know, everything in my life actually at that time went wrong. I just bought a flat, my own money, that was like wow, I've bought and I was just so unhappy, and I was sitting in it by myself, like I was just so unhappy. And for about 2 months, I toyed about putting up a story on my Instagram, which I was embarrassed to do, by the way, to basically ask if anyone else is feeling the same way. And after I basically just slapped myself around the face and said, grow the fuck up, I basically put it out on my Instagram and said, this is how I'm feeling. Is anyone else feeling the same? If so, I want to start a community. And overnight, I got 250 messages on my personal Instagram. If you do something, let me know if you do something. And for about 4 months, me and a friend set up this thing called In Conversation With, where every single week there would be a talker, a speaker, a bit like an AA meeting, who would basically talk about their experience and how they're feeling in COVID and what, you know, their life, etc., etc. It's similar to what we're doing now, really. And we got hundreds of people tuning in, and it was such a fulfilling thing. You didn't have to pay for it. You know, it was a free thing. And I've been going to AA meetings since I was 15 years old to now I'm 33. I have not paid one person. I've got a saying, strangers save my life. Okay, these people, we go round, we sit in a fucking church hall on a Tuesday evening, Wednesday, whenever, every single day, and no one wants anything. All they want to do is pass on a message of hope, faith, and courage, and that's it.
I might change the tagline for HelpBank to "A stranger saved my life." I like that. That's a good metaphor, because that's the other thing. You know, like I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do find it interesting to follow the money. Like you just talked about Evian there and how much money they make, you know, like follow the money. And I have noticed just how driven the system has become around money. And I have this kind of theory that, you know, banks lend us money to buy a house, right? It sounds like they're doing us a favour. Now, let's face it, anyone that knows a bank, and I know, you know, we work with NatWest and we work with different brands. I'm working with Tide right now, and I understand the financial systems are needed, but these institutions are not there to help us. No, they're there to make money out of you. Yeah. And so they lend you money to buy a house. If you actually understood law, you read the contracts, you don't own the house, the bank does. Yeah. So in fact, you're working for the bank for the next 25 years. Yeah. And so, but we're sold this pointless dream that owning a house will make you happy. So that's the goal, that's the purpose. And it is literally like slavery to me.
Yeah.
It's like humans have become batteries for a system. I don't want to say the word Matrix because it's been overused by another influencer that's turned it into something. But I love that movie because I actually think the Matrix movie is a documentary. And humans have an incredible power to break free from that addiction.
I agree.
And like owning something owns you over time. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like having a nice car. But I don't need it.
Yeah.
If you said I don't have that car today, I'd be like, actually, I'll probably walk more.
Yeah.
I'll bike more.
No, I agree.
And if you take the bike away from me, I'll run more. I'll probably live longer.
Some people say to me, actually, what is happiness? Honestly, happiness for me is if you removed every single thing from materialistic from my life and I was happy, that is true happiness.
I agree.
I think that if we can get to that, okay, it's funny for me. In my life, all I need is my family, a couple friends, and a gym. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. I don't need any, like, honestly.
Well, you can always come and live in this podcast studio, which is also a dream. So back up.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think that we are in a world at the moment where everyone is chasing this thing. Have you seen that? There's like a thing that I saw of like it's like a man running on like a treadmill and the money's here and he's running towards the gold and it's just a never-ending. Yeah, it's just a never-ending thing. It's just rubbish. It's funny because we said it before. A lot of the most wealthy people that we know are actually the most unhappy people.
Here's the really interesting thing. So I've been on a bit of a, I want to say rampage, but it sounds aggressive, but like a push to get every millionaire I know to help out on HelpBnk.com.
Yeah.
And it's been a fascinating experience. And these are people that have been really successful, are really, really nice people.
Yeah.
A lot of them are really nice people, despite what people think about rich people. Most of the time, they're nice.
Yeah.
But they're scared to help.
Yeah.
And they're scared to help. Partly what you just said there, like you offer help, 700 people message you. Now you've got to help 700 people. So let's say you reply to one person and you help them, and then they reply back, thank you, now can I meet you? So now you've got to have an hour-long meeting with 700 plus people, and then you meet them for an hour, and now they need something else from you, a post, money, another meeting. And next thing you know, your whole week, if not whole year, in that one LinkedIn post is now taken up helping people.
Yeah.
And I think that this is what a lot of people who are very wealthy say to me. They're like, I see what you're doing, Simon. I think it's cool. I don't want anyone to know that I'm rich because I know everyone will just ask me for money. And this particular conversation I had with a billionaire whose name I kind of want to drop, but I won't. They said, when I first became a billionaire, I started helping people. And the feedback I got was, well, you're a billionaire, you can do more than that.
Yeah.
So it's never enough help.
Never enough. Yeah.
But I think that is not a problem. I think the problem, and I say this to the wealthy people I meet, like, you are not happy, right? And they're like, well, not really. I've got all this money. I thought it'd solve my problems. And my wife isn't, thinks I don't spend enough time with her. And my son hates me because I didn't see him for the last 10 years. And I'm like, happiness is helping someone else.
100%.
Try it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, if I help one person, I have to help two. I'm like, you have not helped someone without a catch.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, I mean, we have our strengths and weaknesses, and I think anyone can be an entrepreneur. So everyone has these strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes when you become an entrepreneur, it is quite transactional. It's like, I'll meet someone if there's business in it for me.
Yeah.
I'll meet them if there's a deal to be done.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I haven't got time because I'm running a business.
Yeah.
And there's something really, 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 really liberating. Like, I literally think 4 years ago when I started helping people without asking for anything back, that's when I started sleeping the best.
Yeah, I agree.
I started feeling the most fulfilled.
Yeah.
Now, I got rich to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But to actually do that, you don't need to be rich because it actually doesn't cost anything.
I agree. Yeah. And do you know what? It brings the joy that it brings to me of, especially in the world, in the addiction side of things and business as well. Because I have a lot of entrepreneurs coming to me and, asking like, how do I do this? How do I do this? But I've met people who are just completely fucked, hopeless. And then you see them 6 months later and in recovery in AA, they've gone through the steps and they've come out the other end. There is nothing more incredible than knowing that you had a part to play in that. And one of my closest friends, he is just like a fine specimen of a person, but he went through a really, really tough time where he was just in a bad place. And I think that is a feeling that more people need to know. I think that what we need to break is this: wake up in the morning, go to work, come home and eat dinner, go to bed, wake up. I think we need to break that. I think that we need to spend more time like you would at school with like an extra curriculum class or whatever it is, but finding something outside of that fucking dangerous pattern that so many people fall into. For me, it's going to a meeting, or it's sitting with an entrepreneur, or it's like, doing something with my wife that is not just like the same shit where we, don't talk through dinner, or it's something different. I just think that we need to pause, look at how we're in this this pattern of society, like the slave of the bank, like what you said, and break the mold. I think it's so important.
I think people listening, there's two types of people listening to this right now, in my opinion. One is someone that could help, but isn't. I'd love to get them over the line, and I hope listening to you about this gets them over the line. I think there's people. I bought a staircase, as you know, with the whole symbolism of like one step at a time, right? One day at a
Love
time.
It. Yeah.
You can get anywhere you want. Not everyone can afford an elevator. So, a step-by-step approach is possible. If you're listening today and you are stuck, you've got no money, you don't know your purpose, what can they do?
I personally think, like, start with what your interests are. And start with yourself, because I think that it has to be authentic. Okay, like what I always love about this product, about CanO, is that we didn't go to Thailand expecting to just come out with an idea. I always tell people I was actually part of the problem before. Now I'm part of a solution, but I was part of the problem before. I didn't care about plastic pollution; it wasn't in my agenda. But it became an interest. And it was something that we all were so obsessed about before even thinking about starting a business. It was like, how is this happening? I think that if you try and manufacture an idea, you'll always feel like a fraud, always. But if you think about your interests, I'll give you an example. When I came out of school, I got expelled from school. I wasn't the best academic person. I wasn't a bad person. I just couldn't concentrate, and I was more interested in art and music, basically, and ended up actually starting to do a degree in sculpture, which I didn't actually finish, but art and music are an enormous thing for me. Everyone came out of school and did the same thing. Oh, my parents want me to be a doctor, or my parents want me to be a this, but what do you want? What do you want? Because what's going to happen is, and I'm seeing this now, by the way, because everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, is that for a long time, everyone just did that. And I actually think this is a positive thing, actually. This is why it's a good time to start a business, is that everyone just went to do what their parents wanted them to do for many, many years. And I think that probably since the 40s, it's just always been like that. Whereas I think that a lot of people are now finding that they're doing what their parents wanted and it isn't what they wanted. And now it's like, oh, actually, I'm interested in this and I'm interested in that. And they're embarrassed to sort of say it. I wasn't that guy. So I was the complete opposite. I was like, I don't want to be a recruiter. I don't want to be in property. I don't want to be this. Because I know me, what will happen, because it happens at school every day. I'll listen and I'll end up graffitiing on a piece of paper. But if I'm in a music class or if I'm in art, I'm like hyper-focusing. So I went and became a DJ because that's what I love. I love music. I love bringing people together, and now everyone's a DJ. So I don't tell as many people that I'm a DJ because it's not as cool. But back then it was like to me it was the coolest thing. And it's funny because now, like, a lot of people are like, oh, like, I really see. And these are people that I wanted to be when I was younger, like it was at school. They'll say to me, I'm really jealous because you actually went and did what you loved doing for you, your interest, DJing, art, and brand. I just went to become a banker and I fucking hate it.
I think this is really, really important. I don't know how to... I've had these conversations with people so many times where, I'm going to university. Okay, why are you going to university? Well, I don't know what else to do, and I'll go do a marketing degree, and it makes my parents happy because I'm going to university, and they never went to university, or they think that's a guaranteed job for life. I'm like, but do you want to do it? Like, I quite like leaving home. Like, it's like reverse engineering, making yourself happy with it. I get to have 4 years of hanging out and having some fun. business is fun.
Yeah.
Is it? Business is fun?
Yeah.
But building something of your own that you enjoy.
I think it's the biggest, honestly, I think it's the biggest waste of time.
Biggest waste of time. And I just interviewed someone who'd just done 4 years in marketing.
Yeah.
£61,000 worth of debt.
Yeah. It's pathetic.
4 years of their life. No income for 4 years.
It's one of the most things I'm grateful for. It's not having any
no education. Leaving school at 15 years old. Now, this isn't for everyone because you've got no choice if you want to be a doctor, but to go to some sort of 100%. University. Which, by the way, in itself, personally, I think is a problem. You know, like you force people into a system. Like Tesla couldn't get a job at Tesla. Yeah, Tesla dropped out of university. Today, if you were to apply for a job at Tesla, you wouldn't get it. The guy that basically came up with the whole energy system. So I think that, if it's naturally in you, Tesla, it was naturally in him.
100%.
And he was obsessed and did it and created something.
If that marketing person spent 4 years building their business, they'll learn more than they've learnt.
Yeah.
Fact.
Totally. And learning, like my son who's 6, he's obsessed at the moment with the road infrastructure. Okay. And so it's like the M25, the A1, wow. Like when we were in America and New Zealand recently, he's like, he just loves road maps. And so like, how does that end up helping him in life? He's really obsessed by it. So we find out, how did the M25 get built? Yeah. What was the history of the M25? Who had to get compensated housing-wise to allow the M25 to happen? What political party blocked it? What political party approved it? Where did the money finally come from? How did they build it? What materials did they use? Who died building it? The history in it, there's finance in it, there's politics in it. All of these things that in the education system they try to separate is all being learned. He'll know more about how to build the M25 than anybody else on this planet. And he loves it. He is obsessed with that knowledge.
Love that.
If you follow your passions, all of this crap that you're told you need to learn, you will learn because you are doing something you love.
And I think that university and school, I think it does suck out a lot of passion because
it teaches you fear.
Yeah.
It teaches you case studies.
Yeah.
If you studied a case study about someone starting a CanO Water business,
start it.
Of course you wouldn't.
100%. We always say
they'll be like,
that.
So, okay, let's look at the economics. Like you were saying earlier, the amount of money you'll make selling these will be a lot less. So don't sell CanO Waters. Second is 3 companies tried it, went out of business. Blah, blah, blah. And basically, if you went and studied opening up a CanO Water business, you wouldn't ever start.
100%.
And I think that's, I hate the education system.
Yeah, I agree.
Like with a passion.
Well, it didn't work for me at all.
And the thing is, it works for some people. And there is no alternative.
My wife, she's a pharmacist.
Right. Okay? Well, that sort of
it worked for her. And she's, but she is a perfect example of someone that it worked for.
Right.
But I speak to a lot of people. They're like, I studied geography. Great. What do you do now? Oh, I'm working in a bank. So why, I just, you could have, you're in debt.
You had to get a job.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I think that it should be based on people.
Well, in this day and age, I remember, I'm old. So like, I remember in 2001, we were talking about 2025, and 2025, we had the hoverboard. And we had, basically food that you just, one little tablet you put in your mouth, that's all the food. I don't know why that would ever be a good idea, but kind of back to the future stuff, and it's meant to be a utopia where people can do what they want to do. And you have, your leisure is what you do. So if you like painting, you don't have to worry about making money out of it. You can just paint. And it seems to have gone the other way. Like I honestly think now, and a lot of people complain about the new generation and call them lazy and stuff, but like there's no hope for a lot of people. Because the system says, everything's based on hours. Right? You've got a credit score system that's monitoring you all the time. The credit score system literally dictates whether or not you can get broadband in your house. Like
mental.
I'm a multimillionaire. When I bought this mansion, I wanted to get the internet installed. And because I hadn't lived in England I've been living in Hong Kong, I didn't have a credit rating. They wouldn't give me an internet connection. Even if I offered to pay for it 5 years in advance, they want me to pay it monthly because there's some upsell they want to add to it, and they wouldn't give me credit because I don't have a good enough credit rating. So I had to get a credit card for the first time in my life since 18 years old when I destroyed my credit cards because I was addicted to spending. I got rid of my credit card at 18 years old. Never had a credit card since. The only way I could get the internet connected at my multi-million-dollar home was to get into some sort of debt so the system could track how much eventually I could pay the system.
It's just crazy.
So the education system kind of tells you, sit down, conform, shut up, wear the same outfit. Don't collaborate. Whatever you do on that exam, don't ask for help.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about you as an individual unit. We're not built like that.
No.
We're community animals.
Yeah.
We're meant to collaborate. You've got a different skill to me. We're meant to team up and do stuff together.
100%.
We're meant to help each other. You know, we used to live in tribes of 5,000, right? This is a fact.
Yeah.
This is not some conspiracy theory for people listening to this. We used to live in tribes of 5,000. That's the average pocket size of the human race. And if you needed help, I would help you. Not because you could help me in return, but because if I helped you, you're a happier member of the tribe.
Yeah.
My tribe is overall happier.
100%.
And then you would go on to help someone else, and that person would go on to help someone else. There was no homelessness, first of all, because if someone was not, their tent fell over, or they were having mental health issues, the community would
come
rally,
together and help.
Come and stay with me. Here's some food. What do you need? Tell us. You know, we created homelessness.
Yeah.
Like, how come we in 2024, 2025, we're supposed to be the future?
100%. Yeah.
How can we have invented, in my opinion, one of the worst things?
I mean, I just got back from America, and
it's out of control there.
Horrible. It's really,
and look, you've got
really sad.
mansions that are worth like $20 million next to 5 people in the street, literally like can't drug. Some on drugs, some just can't even get food.
It's horrendous.
You know, for the day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think about what is the answer, because I hate complaining about this. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to blow smoke up your ass, but I do genuinely think that for-profit businesses that do good is the answer.
Yeah.
Because it highlights causes that matter and gives us something positive action. I buy this can, I can make the world a better place.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like, you give people a positive way to help.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I think that it needs to be drilled in that we need more of that, and we need more sort of out-of-the-box thinking, if that makes sense. It's sort of like, you don't have to sort of this perimeter that you're sort of sitting inside of. It just doesn't stop there. You know, you can go out of that and feel comfortable and feel happy. I do think that it takes, and that's where I think that the education system needs to get a bit better, is it needs to encourage that.
Well, you need to be taught purpose at school.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not a fluffy word.
No.
It's not a thing that's just for the select few or something you shouldn't ask yourself.
Yeah.
It's something we should be thinking
it's
about.
It's like the X-Men, isn't it? It's like creating this world of sort of for good.
Yeah, and diverse. And I love what you said earlier, and I think it's really true. Like, I've got dyslexia. I don't know if I've got ADHD. I might have. But I honestly think my dyslexia is actually my superpower.
Yeah.
Because I love nothing more than sitting down with someone chatting. Yeah. Do I want to read your book, Josh? Not really. You know, I want one, but you will. But, you know, I love this, you know, like real world interaction. Yeah. And I think I mean, it's interesting, when I was at school, I actually got an A in English literature, and I'm dyslexic. Yeah. How? Because I was told to read a book, Jane Eyre, and I didn't want to read it because I can't read it. So I actually interviewed all my classmates who had read it. I managed to get 26 different versions of that book. So instead of me reading it and having an opinion, I got 26 different opinions, which was far more rewarding and actually an 100%. A mark.
So I'm a visual learner. So like, I can't read a book. So I'll read 10 pages and then I get to the 10th page and go, fuck, I haven't read one page. Right. But I will watch a film. I'm a massive film person, and I could tell you every single thing that happened in that film. And it's just about finding your way, isn't it? Yeah. Everyone's got a different way about them. True. Each person is made to be different. And I don't think we were put on this planet just to sort of conform to, you know, to what actually we probably weren't put on this earth for, actually, if you think about it. It's just some people similar to like the plastic giants that are out there sitting at a board table saying, this is what we're going to, it's all just manufactured.
But they're just, you know, in reality, and it's not conspiracy theory, people are just trying to sell you stuff. Yeah. Right? So price is one motivator. Get the price down and you'll buy stuff, right? Yeah. Convenience and selling a dream that isn't real. You know, that's what I really hate. I hate it because I ask people what their dream is all the time. People's dream is, when they say that to own a house, I'm like, you have been brainwashed by the system. That is not a real dream. Having somewhere to sleep is a basic human right. You know, like now electricity should be a basic human right.
100%.
And was pitched as an invention that's going to help us. Now we have a monopoly company supplying us with electricity. We have no choice but to pay them. I just paid my electricity bill today, £875. It's
horrible.
£875. And I've got no one I can compare them against. And when I rang them up and said, why is my electricity bill so high? You know what they said?
Oh, God.
Putin's fault. I'm like, it's Putin's fault that we have a monopolistic electric system that means I've got no choice but to pay you this ridiculous fee. Can I reduce the fee? No, that's the fee. Is there anything I can do to get the cost down? No.
Council tax as well, an all-time high. It's just
crazy.
You're just pushing people into oblivion.
For £4,000 my council tax bill. And I'm like, I can afford it, but I know what it's like to have nothing.
Yeah, it's horrible.
£4,000 cash.
Yeah.
You know, like that's after tax.
Yeah.
You know how hard anyone to make.
100%.
And I'm not a unique council tax bracket.
Yeah.
You know, in London, you know, this is normal. £4,000 council tax is normal.
Yeah.
It's madness.
Crazy.
And so, yeah, I think circling back, a couple of things. What's your favourite movie and why?
There's a film called The Hurricane. It's about a boxer, Denzel Washington. True story about a boxer called Hurricane Carter who basically got put in prison for something he didn't do. But it's just like, I think the why in that is that there's just so much raw emotion. And actually, you talk about perseverance. So the story is actually about these lawyers who read his book and they basically helped get him out of prison.
I love that.
But what's amazing is that like it took years, but they didn't give up. It didn't give up.
Working on behalf of someone else.
Yeah.
Earning no money from it.
No money.
It's total sibling.
And by the way, everyone said it wasn't possible. All the people before that had tried to get him out said it's not possible, but they got him out.
I'm going to watch that movie. I haven't seen that one. My favourite is Shawshank Redemption.
Love that.
And I think it's because, you know, he's convicted of a crime he actually did, but he gets out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I love that 26 years to get out, like chipping away one day at a time.
100%.
Big symbolism around that, right?
And, huge.
And so the other thing I'm really fascinated by, Ricky Gervais is my neighbour.
Yes.
When I was living in London, I used to see him every day.
Yeah.
And he loves my dogs, not me, which I totally accept. He's a big animal lover, right? He's the only celebrity I like.
Yeah.
How did you get Ricky Gervais to invest in your business?
So I think that, you know, we were introduced to Ricky. I don't think that he hasn't invested in many businesses. Recently, he has been investing for purpose, for good. And, you know, as you know, he does a lot of stuff for, you know, animals. And, you know, even though he takes the piss out of a lot of things, whether it be kids or, you know, the planet, etc., in his latest Netflix show, he actually practices what he preaches. He actually cares. And that's why I like Ricky Gervais. He's very, very, very authentic. Yeah. He really, really is.
I absolutely love him. And he did a comedy sketch about allergies, peanut allergies in particular, about getting on a plane and he's not allowed to eat nuts, that's not right. It was a very, very, very funny sketch. And there was this whole big reaction online from people who were saying, oh, you shouldn't take the piss out of people with allergies. That's so wrong. You know, he hasn't got any allergies. He doesn't understand how serious it is. I have a kid with 11 food allergies, serious food allergies. If he eats them, any of these foods, even things like weirdly like coconut, he will die. It couldn't be more serious. It's fucking comedy. And do you know what's really interesting?
100%.
Right? You gotta literally laugh at some of the most difficult things and how you get through them sometimes.
Yeah, agree.
I laughed my head off during that whole sketch. And my son has the food allergy 100%. Everyone's actually kicking off about. And the other thing that's really interesting, and this is why I love humour, is that sketch where he talked about food allergies probably did more to raise awareness
100%.
of food allergies
helped,
than any of the food 100%. Allergy charities. And there's some really good ones. I don't want to put them down, but you know, that reverse psychology is so powerful. Like highlighting a subject through humour, even if you're taking the piss out of it. I think
humour is brilliant. So important. And I'll never forget, I went into rehab the same year that Amy Winehouse brought out the song Rehab.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And all of my mates used to just play it to me. Right. And like, it's just funny.
Yeah.
It's, you know, listen, at first it was a bit like, but we've all got to find, like this life is, we've only got one of it, and also like it's too short to get, you know, pissed off of Ricky Gervais doing a comedy sketch. And I think that comedy is actually one of the only places where we can come together. Doesn't matter what colour, what race, religion, nothing. It doesn't matter. We're all together. I really believe that.
Yeah, it's actually personally like in my content something I want to build in more. I love the joking side of it all. And I don't. That's another part. Is like living in the now. At that point you were making earlier about just embrace the day sort of concept, which you hear a lot. I think just try to have a laugh in the day.
Smile.
You know, like
just smiling.
Which by the way, I think links to what you were saying earlier. You know, about like, you know, if you're trying to find your purpose, just start by doing something you enjoy doing every day. If it's painting, just turn on TikTok Live and let people watch you paint.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, you'll sell a painting.
Yeah.
If you like walking dogs, then just walk dogs. Yeah. Maybe use social media for social good. Figure out a way to monetize your hobby.
Yeah, 100%.
And honestly, like, I think success is literally that to me.
I agree.
And that's why I think the entrepreneur thing is right now a bit overplayed.
Agree.
Because I think people are becoming entrepreneurs. They say, I'm filling a market gap.
Yeah.
Or like, be an entrepreneur, but you don't have to fill a market gap.
Yeah.
Do something that you're going to enjoy doing
and
that you can sustain because you enjoy doing it. And it doesn't matter what it is, it will be successful.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'll be enjoying it. It's not about creating a new wealth. Bankers that become entrepreneurs are some of the worst I see because they're like, oh, we're going to sell this to Uber for $1 billion. I had this last week, actually. I'm going to sell it for $1 billion to Uber. You're like, brilliant. What if you don't?
Yeah.
What if you don't sell it to Uber? Then what? You're stuck with this thing you don't enjoy doing.
Yeah,
that won't happen though.
It
probably will happen. You'll probably be stuck with it. So are you going to be all right with that?
Yeah.
And if you're all right with that, you'll be successful because you'll be enjoying your day to day. And it's so fucking simple.
100%.
But people don't know how to apply that process, right?
Yeah.
I think just to kind of close, because I could talk to you forever. If you were going back to yourself 8 years ago when you started this business, and you were like, "Let me give you some advice, Josh. Give us a quick download of the things that you've learned in the last 8 years." From then till now that you give the young Josh?
It's written. One of the things that's written on the can is don't bottle it. And I think that's been a journey throughout my whole life of just not listening to the naysayers who just, I guess, want you to just conform into the normality of life. Be yourself. I think that, one of the things that I'm really proud of myself of is that I didn't listen to anyone who sort of told me, you can't do this, you can't do that. In the first sort of 4 years of CanO, every single person said no. Everyone was like, no, I've mentioned it before. Like one of the founders of the biggest drinks company in the country said that it's not a great product, and we could have just turned away, but we didn't bottle it. And I think that one of the things that I would say when we first started is that it's going to be all right, and you'll be very, very proud of yourself. I think that, I, as someone who never had any sense of belief in themselves and really sort of thought that they would just be a complete fuck up in life, I think that the person back then would be very proud of the person today. And also just like the achievements, nothing from a materialistic perspective, but the achievements of helping people. I always say, like, my dad is the richest man I know, not from anything to do with money, just what he's done with our family. He's my biggest inspiration. And I've watched someone who's come from complete nothingness, like grew up in a council estate, build just nothing to do with the business, but just build. He's always got a smile on his face, my dad. He's always got a smile on his face, and I've learned so much from him as a person.
He's got that smile on his face because he helps someone every week, right?
He literally is that person, and that's what makes me because I've seen it.
I love it. And we, kids don't do what you say, they do what you do.
100%.
Right? So I know you're about to become a father.
I am.
That's the biggest lesson I've learned. Like, if I help someone, if I want my son, see, the interest in psychology is I speak to a lot of people that have a dream, and they say there's quite often a good excuse of, I've got to feed my family, I've got 2 kids, and I've got to feed them, and that's a very honourable instinct in people. Yeah. But what happens is people then do a job they hate to provide their kids with a car.
Yeah,
that kid doesn't care what car it goes in, really. Maybe when it gets older, it might have an image issue, but like when they're young. House, like my son, he's in a big house here. He doesn't care as long as he's got his parents there. He's got love and attention. Yeah, right. He doesn't care. And I think what happens to a lot of people is they do something for their kids, right? They do this, and I wish someone had told me this really. Before I was a parent, like people do things for their kids, but in reality, kids don't want anything but your attention. Yeah. So if you can give them attention, they don't need a big house. If you can give them attention, they don't need big holidays. Yeah. And kids, like my son will ask me sometimes, "Are you okay, Daddy?" I always tell him the truth. Because there's an instinct in me to say, "I'm cool, son, don't worry, I'm 100%. Fine." But he can tell I'm lying to him. So what am I doing? I'm teaching him to lie. Right? I'm teaching him how to lie. Yeah. He knows I'm not all right. So I always tell him the truth. And it's the same with I tell him every day. He says, "Daddy, please don't leave me. Play with me today." And if I have to go to work, I say to him, I have to go and help someone. I promised to help someone today, but I'll come back and I'll be with you later. And you know what he says now when he wakes up in the morning? Daddy, who are we helping today?
I love that.
Kids don't do what you say, they do what you do.
Yeah.
So if you're in a job you don't love and you're doing it for your kids, one day they'll do the same. They'll do a job they don't love for their kids. So do something you love. If you want your child to have a great life, do something you love because they'll copy you.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it's very true.
You're going to be a great dad, by the way.
I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited.
Be nervous.
Thank you.
Yeah, be nervous. Do all the, long weekends away, all this stuff quickly now. But when's the baby due?
May.
End
of May. Soon.
Wow, that's exciting. I just, being a parent, I can't. It is the hardest thing I've ever done. I don't care what company you've run in your life or what you've done in your life. Like, there's nothing harder than being a parent. It is, and it's the hardest thing ever. Like, a kid doesn't do, you say something to a kid, they don't see you as the boss of a company. You can't say, look, I need an hour off. Do you mind just sitting down quietly for a minute while I read the newspaper? Nope.
No.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It is also, it's a bit like running a business. If you've never run a business, you describe it in exactly the same way, but building a company is the hardest thing I've ever. Entrepreneurs, we love to moan about it. My brain's exploded. I can't believe how much fear I've had. I almost went broke. Oh my God, it's so hard. But you wouldn't want not to do it.
100%. I agree.
Right? And so actually having a kid is exactly the same.
Like that.
It's like, oh my God, I didn't realize. And it is the most intense, hardest thing ever. But fuck, it's the only way to live, because it's literally the ultimate help. Without anything in return.
That's what I'm excited about.
If you don't have kids, you don't realize this. You've never experienced unconditional love until you have a kid. You've never experienced it, because we as kids, to our parents, we have conditional love. Like, I fell out with my mum because she kicked me out of home. I had a condition, and that was she had to provide me with accommodation, right, and treat me with respect. She didn't do that. I fell out of her. I don't have unconditional love. Right. And so even with your partner, I often describe this probably won't make it into the podcast, but this is just this interesting fact. Like, the analogy I always try to use. Like, I love my wife. I've been with my wife 21 years. Everyone told me not to get married, by the way. I had 3 brothers that were all getting divorced when I got married. And the best thing I ever did was get married. I have the best relationship I've ever had. She was my business partner for 15 years.
It's about finding the right one.
Exactly. And it's about investing in that relationship too. There's always grass is greener. And it's 100%. True in relationships, right? Like, I've made the effort, and so has my wife. It is an effort to make a relationship work. But there's conditional love there, right? If she has an affair, I'm probably going to leave.
Of course.
There's conditional love. If my son came home saying he murdered someone, I try to help him. But the analogy I use to try and explain the difference, as a person about to become a father, you're going to experience this, is like, if there's a fast train coming down the tracks and I see my wife in front of me and she's going to walk in front of the train, and I know if I move quick enough without thinking, I can save her life, but I'll probably die. Right? This is how it plays out. I go to tell my wife, don't, oh my God, and she actually gets hit by the train. I'm like, oh, fuck, I should have just jumped in front of the train. You have a hesitation moment because you have self-preservation, right? If it's my son in front of the train, I'm already dead. The train has hit me and my son's life is safe. There's a split second, and that's the difference. Unconditional love is like, there's not even a split second. I will jump in front of that train, my son's life is safe. And my wife, I love her. But there's a split second, and unfortunately she died. I survived. It's not going to be easy. I'm going to have to bring my son up on my own.
Does she know that?
Well, she knows that. And I have never asked her if she would unconditionally not think about it. But it's just instinct in us, right? But being a parent is the most amazing thing ever. You're going to love it. You're about to take your brand to America. When launching a business in America, what have you noticed about business in the UK versus business in America? Any uniqueness or anything people can learn about the two markets that you're now discovering?
Very different people. So I think one of the things in the US that I've found is that everyone wants you to win. Everyone's super excited about you and your product, and I think that they really, really buy into to you and your brand. I think one of the hardest things about the UK, and what we definitely need to do a better job of, is that I don't think there's a lot of support for businesses and brands in the UK. I think that when you are winning, people do want to be your friend, but I do think there's a hint and an undertone of not wanting people to win in the UK.
What is that about? Like, I get a lot of hate in the UK as well, and I think it's I try to understand how to fix it, because I hate complaining about things.
I think it's an insecurity within the culture of the UK, and I think that it is this thing of what are you really trying to do here?
Right. What's the scam?
What is the scam?
Cynical.
What's the catch? Yeah, I feel like the English people are always looking for the catch. But
how's that happened to England? Is it the media again? Like the media's made us all skeptical.
It could be.
It's
the
highlighted
media.
every bad story.
Yeah.
So we don't think any good stories exist.
Yeah.
Because I think, like I see in my social media, 99.9% of people are just like super fucking nice.
Yeah.
They do actually want.
Yeah.
We did a story on a young man, 16-year-old, who pushed the doorbell at our staircase, pitched his dream, and people in the comments on LinkedIn funded it.
Yeah.
They just
amazing.
They didn't ask for anything.
Yeah.
500 quid, 600 quid, 200 quid. We funded his whole business in the comments on LinkedIn.
All you have to do though is just look at go on the UK Underground, the London Underground, and try and smile at someone.
Oh yeah, we've done that,
and they won't smile back.
We go on the London Underground and we record content. Yeah. Honestly, I literally have done this. I've stood in the Underground. I said, I'll give anybody on here £5,000 to help them with their dream.
Yeah,
not a single word.
100%.
Crickets.
But if you're in the US, and this is what I do love about the US, is that
people are literally queuing up to take advantage.
Or even you lived in Hong Kong, yeah? Like when I went to Hong Kong, everyone's saying, on a hike, everyone's saying hello to each other, and waving to each other. And I think that is something that we have to do better.
Is it an island mentality that we've fallen into? I'm trying to understand how this has got rooted in this.
I do think the media has a big part to play in it.
The media here is very out of control.
Yeah.
Because the media is always pitched as always got to be free media. But these guys aren't doing it for free.
Yeah.
They're doing it for clicks.
100%.
So they're literally, I was interviewing someone recently because we do a lot of copywriting for our posts, right, to get the posts right. So I'm talking to a copywriter who used to work for the Daily Mail.
Okay.
And she was saying that like during the election, the Trump-Hillary election, they were literally making up stories about Hillary and Trump.
Yeah.
So literally like Hillary underground paedophile ring.
Yeah.
That's the headline.
Yeah.
And some people, that's all they read. So like, Hillary's involved.
It's so dangerous.
And of course, you click it for liability reasons.
I just don't
they then have to write a story that isn't fully about. They just write about this pizza joint, but all you see is the headline. Homeless man kills everyone in house.
So dangerous.
And now no one wants to help homeless person.
Yeah, and I think that I do think a lot of it in the UK definitely stems from that, of just this fake news and just. Yeah, this sense of belief that no one's in it for the long, like no one's in it for real. Everyone's sort of, as you said,
short-term gains.
Yeah,
and that, again, America with all its faults, the American dream is such a powerful concept. Yeah. What is England's general dream? To have a political leadership that aren't a bunch of idiots. Own a house.
Yeah, I do think it is that. It is that. Get married, own a house, have a kid, die.
Right. That's the British dream.
I do.
Maybe a holiday for 2 weeks a year if you can.
Yeah.
What the fuck? We can do better than this.
I do think that in America, people do take more chance.
I noticed it because I lived a long time in Hong Kong. I've spent a lot of time in America, and of course, I've lived in England. I sometimes use the analogy of a car to explain the difference in culture. So in America, if you pull up in a nice car, people are actually like, "Oh, cool, man, love your car, man. That's cool." Like people are almost excited for you. They know you probably got it on finance, or you probably can't afford it, but you're kind of aspirational. You're trying, and there's all that. Like, cool, man. In Hong Kong, the rich people drive basically crappy black limos, we call them, right? They're like squashed up black limos. You have a driver, the car is shit, but you're driven around in an air-conditioned box, and life's easy because people are you're pulling up. They're the really rich people. So there's no car comparison. If you have a Ferrari in Hong Kong, you're a fucking idiot because you can't drive it fast because it's too busy. So there's that kind of culture of like that guy in that crap black car over there is doing wealthy, well, like. And then in England, and I had a nice car here.
Yeah, you get called
I had when I was 26 years old. I made some money overseas, came back for a little while, bought a Z3, and it got scratched within a week, like keyed down the end of it, and the
jealousy
broke
massive
off.
jealousy.
And actually, I couldn't afford to really fix it because I bought a car, but I didn't really have enough money. So I was just like, and I was like, do they know that I was homeless once and I've worked my ass off? I've got this far. Where's that come from? Like, where's that hate? I found out it was someone in my peer group that did that to the car. I parked outside a nightclub.
Yeah.
And I found out later it's someone I actually know that did it.
A lot of the time, it is the people that are closest to you that don't want you to do well.
It's kind of shocking to me. I actually have this interesting thing with social media that people friends of mine that tell me that they're supporting what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, but you've never, and this is really kind of petty, but I've noticed you've never liked my posts.
Yeah.
You're viewing them. I can see on stories
you're
when someone's
liking
viewing,
it.
you're not pressing heart, you're not sharing it, which doesn't cost you anything. I picked up someone else's dream.
Yeah.
I can see you've watched it, but you haven't shared it on your social network. It costs you nothing to do that.
Yeah.
Zero. And we're helping someone in that video.
Yeah.
Why haven't you shared it? I actually picked them up on it. Because they tell me they want to support
100%.
and they support my mission, but their actions don't match.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Why,
It's the same with me with people like not buying CanO. Like they see it and they'll say to me, I saw your CanO. Did you buy it? No, I didn't buy it.
Or worse, they ask for a discount.
Or that. I've had that. I've had that a lot
buy
of the
full.
time.
Friends should buy full price. Like
100%.
I invested in a company called Heights. Do you know Heights?
Yeah.
I invested in them. Dan Murray said, who's the founder, was like, do you want me to set you up for a subscription? I'm like, no, I'll buy the full subscription.
100%.
So I put hundreds of thousands of dollars in, and I bought a full paid subscription because that's what mates do.
100%.
You don't ask for a discount. But
I also think if people came together, we could do more.
Well, that's the mind-blowing thing. I think that the people that are, doing these, like not buying the cans or scratching the cars, ironically, if they joined a community and had a purpose, they'd never do that. Like
100%.
I never get hate from someone doing more than me. Never. It's never happened. I've never seen. There's no way Elon Musk is jumping into my feed and calling me a twat. Or if he knew what we're doing, he'd help. Like it's kind of crazy to me that. So do more. That resentment, and I think England. I have this vision of like a new political party, which I'm never going to launch because I hate politics. But the basic premise is to solve all of our problems. All we have to do, as 64 million people in this country, is all do one kind gesture for free each day for someone.
Pay it forward.
Just one kind gesture. If 64, let's take out the kids. Let's assume they don't want talking to strangers, right? So you've got 32 million adults over the age of 18. If they all got up today and said, right, how can I help someone, a stranger, not necessarily a family member, a stranger, in some way today? I could retweet their thing for free. I could share their thing on my stories. I could call them up and see if I could help them. I could be their first customer and spend 100 quid on their product, 20 quid on the belt. If you've got money, buy a coffee for the person behind you. 100%. Walk past a homeless person and say, can I buy you some food from the supermarket?
I always do that.
I mean, it doesn't have to cost you money. All the stuff I mentioned.
It's just about
that action.
Adding an action.
Literally, you could change the world. Like the whole of Britain, if the whole of Britain did that. The other thing, and you mentioned it, I think Britain's policy is really fucked up. Why do we not have a LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram? None of these companies that are affecting everything. Started in England.
It is very true.
Zero.
Yeah.
Right. How is that possible? Is it we're too stupid? No.
Yeah,
I've got a bit of an agenda on this one. I've launched a platform that competes with LinkedIn, but the premise is we help each other. That's the only difference, right? You go there to get help. You can ask for help for free, but you can go there and help. It makes help convenient for the person helping, and we'll pay people to help people for free on top of that, right? It's like, but there's zero grants in this country to help a platform like that. And in fact, zero mechanism to help me get into America. I have to pay to get into America. In America, Starbucks was given a grant of $500 million to expand around the world, in particular in China. Right? Wow. They wanted brand America in China. We wanted brand America in Britain. Again, what the fuck? All the coffee shop companies in the UK are American owned. The Costa bought by Coca-Cola.
Even Pret was English, and it got bought out by McDonald's.
Exactly. So what the hell is wrong? I mean,
you're right.
And you can argue America's got more money. Well, this country is the 5th richest country in the world. If we want to go to war, we'll print money. And if we want to, whatever you want to call COVID, do something about COVID, you can just print money. So why are we not supporting ideas that could go global?
I agree.
And so it's almost, again, if a government grant, like the Starbucks grant, was given to you, and the UK government said, we should have a global water brand, let's invest and support CanO Water. You get all sorts of shit from people, you're taking government taxpayer money, blah, blah, blah. They wouldn't understand, this market is too small. Actually, 64 million people is a small market for a business. So it's like having Texas or California. We need to expand into 100%. Other markets. And there needs to be a mechanism. I mean, I think the small business secretary at the moment has never run a business. these politicians in power.
Who have, yeah.
Can you have a small business secretary that's never worried about cash flow? That's never worried about making payroll or understanding marketing. But they have, the small business secretary, I won't name them, but they have never run a business in their life.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be the ones helping businesses like yours and mine expand.
100%.
And so anyway, it's a fascinating thing. I'd love the whole of England just to just slight mindset change and start thinking about if you're complaining about your life, the first step is to help someone else's life.
Yeah.
And don't expect anything in return. If you do it, your life will be better a year from now.
Agree.
Simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, let's ring someone up.
Let's do it.
And help them. Now, you've got a few choices. There's big letters and small letters. Don't want to influence you. This one I quite like because I was like, oh, look, it's got a little handle on it.
Should we do that one?
No, you pick. You got to feel it. Or maybe it's an energy thing.
I feel like that. What I like, and I'm an out-of-the-box thinker, is that this person's gone out of the box. Let's see if there is any... I'm going to have to go with that.
If you don't like any of those, I've got another 700 that we can open up.
My dream. Oh, I like that one.
That's a hand-delivered one.
I'm going to... think. Let's go with this one.
It is pretty.
It is pretty.
Okay.
Am I opening it?
Yeah, go on then. Now, my hope is whoever wrote this has put their mobile number on it. Okay. Sometimes the people don't. Do you want to read the note?
Chantel Wilson. We've got her mobile. Dear Simon, thank you for making dreams come true. My name is Chantel. I am 29 years old and a mother to a 5-year-old girl. Her name is Alicia. She is my world. I have worked most of my adult life as a chef, and now I work part-time as a barista in a coffee shop. I love skincare, and that's my dream, to own and found my own brand. The name for my dream brand is Cecilia's, as that's my middle name and my daughter's too. I want and will be as good as Rituals. I like Rituals and Sarah Miller. I will sell products. Such as hand cream and lip care and so much more. I need your help to invest in my brand and to have a share of it, as I know it will be very big. I'd like to ask for £15,000 to get started. Thank you, Simon. I look forward to hearing from you, and I can tell you more.
Okay, so we're going to call her. Before we do, let's just brainstorm a second.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind when you read that? Like, what's the practical advice you think of?
I think it's very nice that she's got a passion. That she wants to start saying, I would. Obviously she's a chef now. What background has not necessarily what background, but what knowledge does she have in the skincare world? Is I do believe is quite important, because it's a big sector. But I guess what I would want to know is what is a bit different about the skincare, and are you going up against Rituals? That is quite exciting and interesting, because maybe I don't know. For me, it could be plastic packaging or something. I think it's nice. I think it's got a nice story behind it.
Yep. What do you think about that? When
15 grand?
Yeah.
he's now like, I think that you need to know what the 15 grand's for.
Yeah.
Because that's it's quite a big ask.
Yeah. And I think she's probably going to want to buy samples and do some marketing.
Yeah.
Right? So the marketing,
all these types.
I can market to her for free.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some, but also, I think people overlook community funding.
Yeah.
I think that if she gets all her customers pre-buying a product, for example, then she can test market validation.
Yeah.
Get customers ahead of time.
Yeah.
They give her a pre-order.
Yeah.
And then she can, that's one mechanism. I also agree with you about experience. I was just thinking of Maria Hatzfana. She's been on my podcast before. She built Rodale.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can maybe ask her to be a mentor.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Obviously 15 grand's worth of money, but then is there, within that, is it 5 grand cash and the rest is actually value?
Do you know what I've discovered about doing this? And I basically try to do this every night. I find that if I just give someone the money, it's not healthy.
It'll
make me look good on social media.
Of course.
I'm Mr. Beast model, right? You want 15 grand? They go, oh my God, you gave me 15 grand. And I've had this many times. The harder way to do it is actually step them through the process that you need to go through to make this happen.
100%.
Because I can just give them the 15 grand.
Yeah.
But I'd rather just be their first client
100%.
and then help them get other clients. Because that way, when the business is actually working, it's sustainable. I'll give her 15 grand. She might go and spend it on Facebook ads. And then that's it.
100%.
She's back to square one, sending a letter, asking
another one.
So, but it's going to be hard because she's just going to want the 15 grand. Right? So it's not going to be an easy phone call, this. Do you know what, though? These letters amaze me. People take the time to write them out and send them.
I mean, wow.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
In a handwritten personal note.
It's crazy.
With your dream on it.
Love it.
You know what I've discovered, and this is going to make us sound good, but I don't mean it to sound this way. In the UK, if you want help for free, you've got a dream, and you want help to make that dream happen, where can you go? Why is this shitty staircase in Twickenham so fucking popular?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think we've had 8 pitches today. In this rain, people queuing up.
There is no.
Yeah? Look,
there's
nowhere to go.
I know.
No one's helping those people that have nothing. There's loads of courses you can buy and people selling shit to people, business coaches and all this stuff.
It's all rubbish.
It's
all for personal gain.
It's all for personal gain. But on top of that, like, there's no... It's crazy.
I'm going to put my hoodie on.
Oh, you can't, go ahead. There's no...
I completely agree with you.
But that's insane to me.
Yeah.
In 2024, how is there nowhere? Why is our shitty staircase in Twickenham the epicenter where people go to get help? Yeah. Like the Samaritans, you could argue, but I know a lot of people that would never call the Samaritans because they feel like I'm not committing suicide. Exactly. They're like they don't feel like they're worthy of the Samaritans, right? And even then, when you call them, I mean, they're overloaded, right? Yeah. But they're not the. So what? Who do you job centre? Well, fuck that.
No one will go there.
Actually, I'm pitching to the government at the moment to turn them into dream centres. Right, let's fix the job centre, make it a dream centre. But they probably won't do it. But
still, it's a good idea.
They're like, what the hell is going on? When I don't want to be the only place. That fucking helps people.
Hello.
Hi, is that Chantel?
Speaking.
Hi, Chantel. This is Simon Squibb calling. You sent a letter to my staircase in Twickenham.
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for calling me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm sorry it's taken me a bit of time to get back to you, but thank you for sending the letter to us.
Okay.
So I'm actually recording this right now. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm also sitting here with Josh. He's the founder of CanO Water. Have you ever heard of CanO Water?
No.
Okay, well, now you have. You'll be able to Google it afterwards. A purposeful business. Anyway, listen, me and Josh, as founders of a company, have just both read your letter and resonate, we both founded businesses, so we know what it's like to have a dream. So, I guess it would be good to hear a little bit more about your product and why you think it's different. Do you have time to talk about that?
Yeah, I have time right now, yeah.
So tell us a little bit, why is it different? What's apart from the fact it's yours, and I totally get that, but what makes the product different, maybe from a consumer point of view? And tell us a little bit more about your story.
So I wanted to start something for me and my daughter, because my daughter doesn't like wearing creams, or she's just got I wouldn't say sensitive skin, but she's very fussy, and even with clothes, she doesn't like certain things on her. So it started with me and my daughter experimenting with different body butters, like shea butter, then there's aloe vera butter and avocado, and it's just something that we put in together, me and my daughter. So I wouldn't say it's different, but it's something that we've done together as a family, and works for her body, and it's something enjoyable. So that's what I can say is a little bit different. And I just want to do creams and other body things and scents for other people to use as well. So just to build a brand, and I have that passion for it. So I just want to build something up for me and my daughter, and we can do it together. And if other people want to join, they're more than happy to do it.
Got it.
For the community.
Got it. I mean, Josh and I were talking before we called you, and we were just talking about what makes it different. It's an interesting thing, and I don't know what you think of this, Josh, but sometimes you can make a product that actually isn't different. the people behind it are different.
Yeah.
The purpose,
Exactly.
your purpose is different.
Get a community to join.
Yes,
Exactly.
people are supporting you as a mother and your story. I would argue though that there are less people that will do that. If, for example, and I'm just making this up, but let's say every makeup product sold, a makeup set is sent to a single mother or someone that can't afford it, and there's some bigger purpose than just you. And then a step further around purpose would be thinking about it in the context of that this product is designed to help people with eczema. Now that might be too specialized, but like conceptually, I'm a big fan of Tom's shoes. So if you've seen their model, you buy a pair of shoes and then they give a pair of shoes to someone that can't afford a pair of shoes.
Okay. There was also something on Dragon's Den where someone with a disability was selling socks. I was watching that the other day.
Right.
And so it helps the disability people have a job. So they would make socks, funky socks, and
right. That's beautiful.
So
yeah, it resonates, doesn't it? You want to buy the socks, even if you don't need socks. And let's face it, we all need socks, but we're living in England. You need socks, but at the end of the day, you got so many choices. It makes it different. I hadn't seen that episode, but it makes me want to buy those socks instantly. Right? I almost don't care what they look like.
Community, exactly.
Yeah. So that's something maybe you can think about for what you're doing. Yeah, do you want to add anything around the purpose side?
No, I think that, hi Chantel, this is Josh. No, I think that, for me, it's about just trying to find a little bit what your niche is. I think that there will definitely be other kids out there that have a similar, similar thing to your daughter, where they can't wear, they can't wear clothes with similar, like for me, I do suffer with eczema. And I also do get itchy on certain things, and it's about finding what's right. So I definitely think it's about building a community for people in the same place as you. Simon and I were talking about how I'm about to have my first child, and he was talking to me about how you'll do absolutely anything for your child. So I definitely think you really will. So you found a way of how to help your daughter, and I think that's something that will really resonate with people. But I do think that you need to try and find what that sort of like that niche is, so you can go out and express that to find the community of people that sort of need your product.
Yes. And I feel like everybody wears cream, so it's just like using natural, organic creams, and maybe if the kids get involved, maybe I can set up a kit where kids can make their own things and get involved as well, because I feel like when kids get involved with stuff, they're more, even with food, if they get involved with cooking, they're more likely to eat it. So
definitely, and just like from an awareness perspective and an education perspective, like they will know what they can and can't do, and we were speaking about that, like learning early as a kid for sure.
What goes in the ingredients would be powerful. I think if you gave a kit to parents that they can make the cream with their kids. Yeah. So what's in the cream?
Yeah.
You know what's in the cream. That's quite powerful.
I mean, I don't know if you follow this guy on Instagram at the moment, Eddie Abu. He's the guy that's sort of taking the storm at the moment in the fitness industry about telling people just to stop eating ultra processed things. And I think if you look at the ingredients of a lot of products, especially in healthcare and in the beauty world and in food, it's like it's so dangerous, the amount of ingredients.
It's very dangerous.
And we don't know that because it's hidden.
I know that my son's got a lot of allergies, so I have to check all the ingredients.
It's just like Coca-Cola,
scary,
isn't it?
It's exactly the same. And I think
it's
that
got Coke, so
literally, and I think that's the important thing here, is how do you make sure that you have a platform to get as much out to as many people in the same places as you were with your daughter, and expand from there.
Yeah, I'm doing some like networking groups, just to build that confidence with talking with others and getting my brand and business out there. So it is a start. I have started already, and I'm enjoying the journey as I'm getting into it. So I do thank you for your advice and for calling me.
Yeah, of course. Just to maybe, unless you have to go, sorry, you feel like you might be wrapping up there. Don't worry if you have to go.
No, it's okay. I'm free to talk.
Oh, okay. Just a couple of things I want to make sure we also help you with.
Okay.
So yeah, I think about that branding stuff. Think about the value proposition. It isn't just to make consumers want to buy it. It's also to keep you motivated, right?
Yeah.
So it can be a selfish purpose, and I think wanting to spend more time with your daughter is a good reason to make this business work, right? If you can do it together. I'm personally seeing, and be careful with advice. You've got to stick to your own vision, right? But I'm personally seeing like a makeup kit or a cream kit that then kids can make with their mum and dad or whatever. Like, I'm homeschooling my son at the moment. I definitely buy this kit. I love my son to understand what goes into the creams that we presently put on him because he has eczema and stuff. So I'd love him to understand, okay, so this is a cream you can make yourself. We actually just made some lip balm about 2 months ago. And he loves giving it out to people, but he knows what's in the lip balm. Right, it's like,
and it's so fun to make.
It's so fun to make. So even if you started there, like I think we made 100 little tin lip balms, and I think it was like less than £35 or something. The whole thing. We bought the little tins, and then we bought the content stuff. It wasn't hard, but he loves it. And every time someone comes over now, he gives them a little something like that. Could be a great way to start. Right, it doesn't cost a lot. You can start building your brand. Your name could be on the tin. You know, and your philosophy. And this is my idea, by the way. It doesn't have to be your idea. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes with businesses, it doesn't have to start with, you know, a massive makeup product that costs £15,000. And, you know, you can start small and build it out slowly and enjoy the process. And maybe people will start saying, I'll buy that. You don't have to give it to me. You're like, all right, you know, £5, £10. You sell one, sell two, sell three. They put them on their social media. More people want to order it. You see how you can build it up without it being a big stress?
Yeah, I get that. I completely understand that, yes.
And even if it starts off with lip balm, it doesn't mean where it ends, right? I started off as a gardener at 15 years old, and today I run a social media network to help people for free start a business, right? So I started as a gardener, and now I run a tech business. You know what I mean? Like, it's a process.
Yeah.
So maybe the same.
It's a journey and it's a process. Nothing's going to happen overnight, and
Totally.
I understand this completely.
And if your process takes 11 years, the good news is that your daughter can run the business by the time you've done the training and the market research. You have millions of followers on social media by that point. You know, she can. Do you want to? She might want to run it at that point.
My daughter's a bit of a boss, you know. She says she wants her own toy shop and stuff. So
of course, I can tell.
I can tell. So much.
Kids don't do what you say; they do what you do. You can tell from your actions. So you mentioned in your letter that you want £15,000, and what I like about that is you're setting yourself a target. You're asking for what you need. I don't think enough people do that. I think it's really, really powerful. And I'm sure when you wrote that, there was a slight twinge. You weren't quite sure if you should put it in there, right? How many times did you write this letter?
I wrote it once.
Wow.
I was just like, you know what, just go with my passion, ask exactly what I need.
Yeah.
If I get it, I get it. If I don't, it's, you know, I'm going to keep on going, you know?
Yeah, so the money side is an interesting one. What would you spend the money on?
So it would be like to get all the, like, you need equipment, freezer, because obviously you need like, I need a cosmetic freezer to put, when you're making the body butters and stuff, you've got to set it and stuff. So it's all hygienic things and the products. And obviously it's going to be natural, so it's going to cost money for natural ingredients. So I have a list of all the things that I need. It's just getting started. And being from a single parent household, just to scrape money along is very hard, but I would do what I need to do for my daughter and ask what I need to ask. So I don't mind getting embarrassed. It's my daughter.
You shouldn't be embarrassed. It's cool. I think it's cool. I'm not going to give you £15,000 because it's not healthy to do it that way. Because actually what you're talking about, I think it's not the right way to do it. Now, that doesn't mean to say I can't give you £15,000 worth of help. Right, I think there is.
I would like the knowledge. That's more what I need. Is knowledge and time.
And I think first of all, I think time is more valuable than money anyway, and that's how I feel about time. But you know, I think I'm not sure you need £15,000. You might need £100,000. I'm not sure you need £15,000. You might not need any money at all. And so I always think it's healthy to start a business with no money. In fact, it's a competitive advantage because and let's take the lip balm example. It's £35 to do the lip balm. Right, maybe the lip balm becomes so popular, you don't need a freezer for lip balm. You don't need a big makeup system for lip balm. And, you know, you could start there. Why not start there? And if after a
Just
year,
start off small, yeah.
and if you start, the thing is, a lot of the time building a business, if I give you £15,000, it might actually overwhelm you. You'll now feel responsible. You have to buy a fridge. Now you've got to pay for the electricity of the fridge. You buy the equipment. Now you've got to maintain the equipment. It's not healthy just to suddenly have what you've not done a makeup brand before, right?
No.
So the other thing I think you need is someone to give you some advice who's actually done it. So I do know someone, I haven't asked them yet, but they built a big makeup brand. If after this you send me a DM on Instagram, just saying the questions you have, because people shouldn't ask for a mentor. If you say, please be my mentor, it's overwhelming for anybody. If I say to Josh, please be my mentor, he'll go, I'm busy, man. I know. 1 day a week, is that? 2 days a week? I can't do it. People say no. But if you ask someone a question around knowledge that they have, they will often answer it. So
that is true.
Do not ask for a mentor. Ask a question of the people that have the knowledge. That's, by the way, why I built HelpBnk.com. You don't need a mentor. You need a good question to ask the person who has the answer. If you don't know the question to ask, which is also true for a lot of people, go listen to the questions being asked by the people that do know. Go listen to podcasts of people that are talking about this. Maria, for example, the person I'm thinking of, I actually interviewed her on my podcast, and she talked about how she built a makeup brand from her kitchen, right? And she started off small. She got her friends to buy it. They put it on social media. More people then on DM'd her. She made it in her kitchen. She delivered it to them. She got to know what they needed. She adapted. She changed. If she just had a load of money, she probably wouldn't have made it work, because she wouldn't have listened to her customers. She would have got all crazy, bought loads of product no one ever bought off her.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So I'm personally not against giving you £15,000, but I also don't want it to... That's not the right process.
There's a way of going about things.
And you'll get, Josh sitting with me right now. Do you know Ricky Gervais, the comedian?
I'm not really. I know faces, but I don't know names.
Oh, okay. Ricky Gervais is the best comedian in the world. You should Google him. He doesn't need my help with marketing, by the way. I'm now marketing him. But anyway, he's a comedian. He's very famous. He's the only celebrity I like. He invests in Josh's business. It's a big deal. What I'm saying to you is, if you have a business that's doing well, that has a purpose, you'll get investors. I think the important thing is you don't want to have a load of money without knowing actually what you need to do with it, because you'll buy a fridge and all you'll have is cost and not necessarily in sales. So go slow at this, build it up carefully, enjoy it, have fun with it, and the money will come. Don't worry, you'll get the money you need. Just go step by step at it. And what I will do as a gesture of goodwill is, your name, Cecilia, is a good name, but I'm pretty sure it'll be hard to trademark. But I will pay for a trademark lawyer to check if it's trademarkable for you, because actually trademark is one of the things a lot of people don't do when they start a business. They start a business. Let's say you do the lip balm business. Let's say we put this video out about you now and it gets millions of views. People order it, and then someone comes out of the woodwork with a cease and desist letter. You can't use that name. And that can cause you more pain. If CanO Water had to change its name, for example, it would be a nightmare.
Nearly.
So I'm happy to pay to a trademark lawyer to just get your name. See if we can get your name.
Thank you so much.
So at least you've got a foundation of a business. Ironic when I'm talking about makeup. The foundations, right, is key to good makeup, right?
Yeah.
So foundation is important with a business too, and you need to have that name secured so that you can build a brand, not a business. All right. So I will pay for that.
Thank you so much.
Then please DM after this the questions you have, and I will ask Maria if she will give you some time and answer some of your questions, which can lead to mentorship. That's how to get a mentor. All right.
Okay, thank you so much, Simon.
No problem. Nice to speak to you. We've got my number now too, so you can always leave a voice clip, and we'll try to help you. And go on HelpBnk.com if you've got any questions as well, okay?
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
Anything else you want to say, Josh, before we say goodbye?
No, good luck. I hope it all goes well. I'm sure it will.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you for calling me. Take care.
No problem. Bye.
Bye, Chantel. Bye. Here we go. Help one person.
There you go.
Thank you.
No, all good. All good.
So that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thanks, man.
No, thank you guys.
Here today.
How was that? Was that all good?
Awesome, yeah.
Good.